WREG in Memphis. This is News Channel 3 at 5.
City stands ready.
We don't believe that there is a need to panic.
Shelby County leaders with a promise of safety and security as the first case of the coronavirus is here. That breaking news is first at 5. Thanks for joining us. I'm Janine Lewis. We've learned the patient is currently in isolation at Baptist Memorial Hospital. That's where we find WREG's Alex Coleman as he leads our coronavirus coverage tonight. Alex, give us the breakdown.
Officials here say the patient is in good condition and did not travel out of the country, just out of the state. WREG's Jarita Patterson has more on what officials are doing to protect us all.
A last-minute press conference on Sunday is hardly a good sign. City, county, and healthcare leaders coming together here inside the health department for a morning briefing. Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris getting right to the point.
We have an important update. Having found a case of coronavirus in Shelby County.
This is the first confirmed case for the Mid-South. Alyssa Halshalter, director of the health department, says the bombshell discovery only recently came to light.
The test came back from the state lab yesterday. That lab specimen will be sent to the CDC for additional confirmation, but we do not anticipate any changes in the result.
After going in for a test Friday, there was enough concern to rush the results. Understandably, there was a great sense of urgency from the county. According to health leaders, there was a worker who actually drove the specimen from Memphis to Nashville in order to get immediate results. You have to understand, there's a lot officials cannot and will not reveal. The patient's gender, age, or even where they may have contracted the virus is not being disclosed. But we have learned the newly diagnosed patient left the state recently. We pushed Director Halshalter for more details regarding how the person traveled.
We have no concerns about air traffic, bus traffic, or train traffic.
We can surmise they traveled by way of car. The patient, who is described as being in, quote, good condition, has been isolated here at Baptist Memorial in a room designed to deal with the highly contagious virus.
They are currently in a negative pressure airflow precaution. What that really means is that the air inside the room does not circulate back outside the room.
The big question now stands: what's next? Health leaders say the focus is on treating the patient and tracking down those who may have been in close contact.
And assure that those individuals have information that they need, but also that they're quarantined for 14 days from the last contact that they had.
First of many steps to prevent the spread of this novel virus. Reporting in Shelby County, Jarita Patterson, WREG News Channel 3.
And as you might imagine, there is a lot of concern surrounding coronavirus, but health officials say there is no need to be in fear or there's no need to panic. And even as the first case is confirmed today in Shelby County, one local church is already taking steps to keep its parishioners safe in the pews.
That there is coronavirus, but we do also know that God is stronger than any problem we may have.
At St. Augustine Catholic Church in South Memphis, the phrase, no matter how healthy our prayer life, there's always room for improvement, is taking on a new meaning these days. Father Francis Chiawa is the priest at St. Augustine.
Following the advice from the CDC and taking abundant caution, we receive only in one species so that many people will not be drinking from one cup. Yeah. And the other part to it is that we know that this too will come to pass.
The response is about concerns over coronavirus and keeping parishioners healthy. Do people seem to be very responsive to the recommendations here?
Yes, they are, because everybody wants to be alive. Well, I got tickled last week when I said, well, our bishop had written us a very beautiful letter, telling us to be cautious.
Parishioners such as Joselle Booker say they are being cautious during Mass at the church.
I think they help people. They calm people's fears. It shows that we're all conscious of what's going on around us in the world. And while we don't think that anyone among us is contagious.
Memphis infection disease Dr. Manoj Jain says even with the Memphis area having its first case of coronavirus, he says caution, not fear, is crucial.
It's been very busy, Alex. We expected that there may be a case in Memphis. We've been talking to a lot of administrators, nurses, doctors as well, and there's a relative sense of calm. People know that it's there, and we're managing fairly well.
Dr. Jain says precautions like using hand sanitizers, not touching one's face, keeping a safe distance, and being selective about travel overseas are key to avoiding the virus.
There's no need to panic. We know very well that this was going to happen. It was a matter of time. And what we need to do is to put it into perspective of what events and activities we want to do in relationship to where the virus and so forth is.
And Dr. Jain also tells me he feels very confident that the Memphis medical community is prepared to handle coronavirus and has already responded with the right measures in place with administrators, with doctors, with nurses, and city and county leaders. And health officials have been saying it from the very beginning. Patients diagnosed with COVID-19 are treated and held in quarantine for 14 days before being released from the hospital. And a lot can happen in that time frame. WREG's Quimitra Wilborn has more about the patient and what their life may look like for the next 2 weeks. Quimitra.
Well, Alex, like you mentioned, right now it's all about containment. The health department, they do have that person self-isolated, but now they're faced with a very difficult task, and that's getting in contact with everyone who has made close contact with this individual who has now tested positive for coronavirus. Now, this could be anyone. This could be a coworker, a family member, a friend, or someone they sat next to on the bus for an extended period amount of time. You just never know. However, the health department, they made it very clear that if a person receives a quarantine letter, it's not an option. By CDC regulations, that person has to be quarantined or self-isolated for 14 days for any signs of any symptoms. Jarita mentioned that earlier in her story. But this leads to another big question. Can that individual afford to miss 14 continuous days of work or just missing out on their life? Well, the CDC, they encourage all employers to start providing flexible sick leave. So they encourage employers to start putting that all into consideration right now. They also recommend employers to encourage employees to stay home if they are feeling sick or at least under the weather. Both the Memphis and Shelby County mayors say they are doing their part to protect all of their employees and doing what they can to keep this virus from spreading. And we spoke to a few people downtown who say their employers are working to implement similar policies.
Just go to the doctor, get checked out, and, make sure you're doing okay. And if you're not, then, take the necessary days you need to off instead of, coming to work, not knowing what something is and passing it along to the next person.
As I said, in the Shelby County government, we've already adjusted our policies to make it easier for our employees to stay at home. And we'll be communicating that to other employers, and hopefully they will also adjust their policies.
Now, the CDC also encourages employers to make sure they're performing routine cleanings on all of the surface and also doing what they can to teach and inform their employees about proper hygiene. Live outside of the Shelby County Health Department, Quimitra Wilborn, WREG News Channel 3.
Quimitra, thank you very much. Of course, News Channel 3 will stay on top of this case and we'll bring you any updates as soon as they become available. For now, we will send it back to the newsroom. Alex Coleman, WREG-TV, News Channel 3.
All right, thanks, Alex and Quimitra. Coronavirus case in Shelby County brings the total in Tennessee to 3. We first told you Thursday morning about the very first case here in Williamson County. The other case has been confirmed in Davidson County. In a press conference this morning, Nashville Mayor John Cooper addressed the case as the community is still working to recover from last week's deadly tornadoes.
Now, this obviously comes at a time when Nashville wants and needs to give each other a big hug, deserves to give each other a big hug, and we still need to do that. Public health will be talking about how we do that safely.
Officials say the patient is a woman and they do not believe that that particular case is travel related. Coronavirus is also the talk of the table for Shelby County school board members. But school leaders and school board members here say that the virus is not a threat to school-aged children right now. SCS leaders have discussed the district's protocol if there is an outbreak of coronavirus, and if it gets bad enough, business within individual schools or the entire district could come to a halt. Local health officials say right now there's no risk to school-aged children, and there's no recommendation or guidance to shut down schools at this time. We are also keeping an eye on a positive diagnosis of a Vanderbilt University student. The school's website says that student is not in Nashville, but is here in the U.S. undergoing treatment. That student had been placed recently studying abroad and has not been back on campus. The university says it will resume its normal schedule tomorrow as students return from spring break. Memphis venues are taking extra precautions to protect against the spread of this deadly virus as well. Places like FedEx Forum and the Orpheum are doing repeated deep cleanings of high traffic areas. They were doing this before Shelby County reported its first case of coronavirus. Leaders tell WREG it's not just for safety. They also want customers to feel comfortable.
As you can imagine, we have tons of kids coming into our theater every day, tons of parents, all of our season ticket holders coming to see this great musical, and we don't want them to feel uncomfortable. We don't want them to be scared to come downtown.
So you should expect to see hand sanitizers and wipes at the box office and bars, as well as additional signage in bathrooms there. Now, the fast spread of the virus has people of all ages taking precautions. We've talked with health officials who say people most at risk for coronavirus are the elderly or those with chronic diseases. We talked to 2 nurse practitioners this week who fear new cases will cause even more concern among patients who already have other viral illnesses.
They've been sick for a long time and they're not getting better. They don't have the flu, but they still are having viral symptoms. So then they come in and they're concerned that they might have corona and not know it.
And it's also causing a spike in calls to doctors and in visits to stores and pharmacies. Customers are cleaning the shelves, stocking up from everything to sanitizer, disinfectants, and face masks. But federal health officials have warned against stocking up on face masks. That's because it's dwindling the supply for healthcare facilities that really need them. They say it's important to take the virus seriously, but want to warn everyone not to overreact. And we're staying on top of this breaking news, from the virus to the response and the warnings. Monday on News Channel 3 at 6:30, we're going to take a comprehensive look at how the virus is impacting the Mid-South and what you can do to protect yourself. But still to come next at 5, a warning from a college here in Memphis about spending time outside of the U.S. and how a shipping giant's small changes could have a big impact on protecting you from coronavirus.